Hello students. Last week we had done the poem Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. Here is another poem by Robert Frost, that is Fire and Ice. Anyway, though you are familiar with Robert Frost, yet let's find out a little bit more about the poet. Robert Lee Frost, that was his full name, was born in San Francisco on March 26, 1874. He graduated from high school in 1891 and shared the title of valedictorian with Eleanor White, whom he later married in 1894. Robert moved to England in 1912, where he became acquainted with writers such as Rupert Brooke, Robert Grace, Zara Pound, etc. This is the text of the poem, Fire and Ice. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. When you read the text of the poem, I hope you get an idea of the poem. That the poem is about two schools of thought, two possibilities about the end of the world, fire and ice. Fire and ice, is it really fire and ice? We should not go by the literal meaning of fire and ice, but it has a deeper meaning. How the poet analyzes and uses these two elements. Here is, first of all, a small introduction of the poem. The poem Fire and Ice analyzes the fate of the world we live in. Fate of the world meaning the future of the world. Because so many people, they say that the world will end one day. Yes, everything will end one day because nothing is eternal here. Nothing is permanent here. But how will the world end? The way the world will end, that is being discussed here. The poet ponders over the question, what will be the ultimate end of this world? What will be the final end of this world? We all believe that everything that exists will end one day. Everything is transient. Everything is transient. Everything is short-lived. Nothing is permanent. The point of discussion here is how the world will end. What is the way of the world will end in? Whether the world will end with extreme hot or extreme cold. Whether the world will end with extreme heat, meaning it is going to end with fire, or is it going to end with ice, that is extreme cold? No, it's not simply that heat of the fire and coolness of the cold. These two are symbolic of what? Let us see. The whole poem is based on the concept of desire and hatred. When we say that the world will end with extreme heat, with fire, this is the fire of desire. How is it the fire of desire? You will read in the context. When we say that the world will end with extreme cold or ice, this is the ice of hatred. Fire represents fiery emotions or passions like desire, greed, fury, etc. Fire spreads, fire ignites, fire spreads. Desire multiplies, greed grows. It's very difficult to keep a check on these. Ice is symbolic of cold feelings. Ice is cold. It symbolizes cold feelings. What are these cold feelings? Hatred. Cold feelings meaning unemotional, unfeeling, like hatred, envy. The man who is cold has hatred or envy or jealousy, indifference, being indifferent towards others, and insensitivity. The one who does not understand others' feelings. So this is a small introduction of the poem, and now line by line the explanation of the poem. Yes, stanza 1, line 1 and 2. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. Here is presented the contrast of two thoughts. If you remember in the beginning, I said two schools of thoughts, two contrasting thoughts, two possibilities of the end of the world, about the end of the world or apocalypse as stated in Bible. Now, what is this apocalypse? What we say the end of the world has been termed as, has been referred as apocalypse in Bible, the religious book. Apocalypse meaning the doom of the world, the end of the world. So here are two contrasting thoughts about the end of the world. The poet is analyzing the cause of the end of the world. He is trying to analyze what could be the cause of the end of the world. According to one group, the fire could be the reason. Now, how can the fire be the reason? Fire means, or fire symbolizes desire, greed, or avarice. How? The desires never end. You see that how our desires keep on multiplying, they keep on increasing. We have fulfilled one desire, we have another desire. In very simple words, if I explain to you, for example, today you have bought a scooter, your desire to buy a scooter is fulfilled. Now tomorrow you will have the desire to buy a car. You have bought a car, maybe an economy car, and now after some time you will have another desire to get a bigger car. So you see what I mean to say, that the desires keep on multiplying, they keep on growing, they keep on increasing. We cannot have check on them. And how they are like fire, they spread like fire and we are trapped in that fire. The fire ignites, it spreads if it is not checked, if it is not controlled. Similarly, the desires are like that fire. Once ignited, once they grow, we are trapped in that fire. Why we are trapped in that fire? Because we are materialistic beings. Human beings are materialistic. We have desire for materialistic things, and it's very difficult for the humans to suppress their desires. They cannot get rid of that circle of the desires. So that's how the humans are trapped in that fire. It means we are unable to control our desires. We do not check our desires. We cannot control our desires. The human beings become selfish as their motive is just to fulfill their own desires. Because of these desires, the human beings, they become selfish. Why? Because they want to fulfill their desires by any means, by any hook or crook. Since they have so strong the desires that they want to fulfill their desires at any cost, so they become selfish. The world can end due to a natural calamity or man-made destruction? Now you must be thinking that what is the use of mentioning natural calamity or man-made destruction? Yes, students, natural calamity or man-made destructions, they are the result of human desires. They are the results of humans' greed. You see, in every nook or corner of the world today, somewhere cloudbursts, somewhere flooding, somewhere hurricanes, somewhere earthquakes. What are all these? This is all the price that humans are paying for their greed because they have made an overconsumption of natural resources. Nature is disturbed. That's why we have these natural calamities. And man-made destruction, a very living example before you. The whole world is in the grip of pandemic. What for? That is for the man's greed, man's desire for power, man's greed for power. This pandemic is man-made destruction. This has been created by man. The natural calamities occur or the human disasters happen. Natural calamities occur, then also man is responsible because man is unable to conserve the natural resources. Human disasters happen because of the mistakes of the man. One cannot deny that this is the result of man's uncontrollable desires. When the poet says that the world will end in fire, when the poet says that the man's desires are the cause of the end of the world, indirectly the poet cautions the man to learn to control his desires. Otherwise, it would result in a catastrophic end of the world. Now, let us find out what is the opinion of the other group that says, some say in ice, that the world will end with ice. Another group counters this thought, opposes this thought, and asserts that ice, which symbolizes hatred, indifference, and insensitivity to others, will bring the end of the world. There is another group which asserts, which argues that ice symbolizes hatred, indifference. Indifference when you have an indifferent attitude to others. When you do not give importance to others' views, when you do not give importance to others, when you are not being respectful to others, when you are not considerate about others, insensitive to others, when you do not feel others' problems, when you do not understand them. So, ice that symbolizes hatred, indifference, and insensitivity, that will bring the end of the world. The world will end with the hatred. Hatred is the outcome of being insensitive or indifferent to others. How do we become hateful? How do we have hatred? When we are insensitive, when we are unfeeling, when we are insane, then we become hateful. We develop a dislike for others. So that is an inhuman instinct. Ice is cold. It means the humans are devoid of warm feelings of love, affection, and sympathy. Ice is cold. Cold meaning unfeeling, without feelings, without emotions. So ice is cold meaning the human beings, they do not have warm feelings of love, affection, and sympathy. They are not sad to see others in misery. Those humans are warm. Those who are sad to see others in trouble. They would try to reach out to them to help them. But there are others who enjoy. Haven't you seen the insensitivity of humans during the second wave of pandemic in India? How the people had been blackmailing the oxygen cylinders, how they had been charging exorbitant amount for hiring ambulance, how the prices of imported medicines had been soaring high because a few humans, a few people, they had taken it as an opportunity to fulfill their desires, their means, that is to mint money. So such people are indifferent to others, such people are insensitive. So much loss has happened, so many people have been lost. And if this continues, definitely it will bring close to the end of the world. So again, indirectly, the poet cautions that these practices have to be stopped. Otherwise, the end of the world is certain. Now let's go to the next lines. The same stanza, line 3 and 4. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. In these lines, the poet supports those people who believe that fire is the cause of the end of the world. Now, why the poet would be supporting them? Because the poet says, I have tasted of desire. I have tasted of desire, meaning the poet has also experienced the possession of desires. His knowledge and experience of this feeling makes him accept that desire can be a cause of destruction. The poet knows what it means to have desires. He understands that what happens when you have multiple desires. What happens when you have no check on your desires? It results in disaster, it results in destruction. Why? Because you just become out of control. Uncontrollably, you want to fulfill your desire. Fire is used in reference to the animal tendencies in us. What does it mean? It means that such strong desires the humans have that he wants to get them fulfilled, and sometimes in order to fulfill those desires he turns violent also, meaning that the man can stoop very low just to fulfill his desires. He wants to satisfy his desires at any cost, even if he had to fight with someone he does. All these emotions are associated with the heat of emotions. Here, desire could mean ambitious. A man who has desires is ambitious. Aspirations, gluttony. Gluttony is extreme greed. This greed is not only greed for food. This greed is greed for money, greed for power, greed to possess everything. Ambition to become the richest man on the earth. These are the desires that lead the man to disaster. We commit mistakes, or so to say, sins, just to fulfill our desires. Our desires rule us. They become so strong that we make mistakes, we commit sins, we commit crimes just to fulfill our desires. And at that time, we never decide, we never think, we are not in a state of mind to realize what we are doing is wrong. We do not contemplate our future. We do not contemplate our future. We never think of the results. We never think of our future. We never foresee where these desires or these mistakes would take us to. We never see our future, that our fiery passions, those very desires which are uncontrollable, which we cannot check. They may result in catastrophic end of the world. Catastrophic end of the world meaning the disastrous end of the world. It can harm other people, animals, plants, or nature. What we are doing? We are being harmful to the environment. We are being harmful to the nature. We are being harmful to the beautiful flora and fauna. We are harmful to our own fellow human beings. We know this. What we are doing is wrong. Yet we are unable to control ourselves. Yet we are unable to stop ourselves. Why? Because we allow our desires to rule us. Because we cannot have a check on them. This happens when we let our emotions rule us. Yes, students, when we are not able to control our desires because we allow our emotions to rule us. Meaning, we are not trying to control them. When we are not able to control our desires, it means we do not rule, we do not control, but we are controlled by our those very emotions or feeling. I hope it is clear. Now let's go to the next stanza. This is stanza 2. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. In the bracket, you will find the meaning of these difficult words. In the first line, the poet says it, but if it had to perish twice. It here refers to the world, this human world we live in. According to the poet, if the world is destroyed completely, not destroyed completely by fiery passions, that is, human desires, the ice would destroy this. Though the poet thinks that those fiery passions, those desires, that strong desires, uncontrollable desires of the man, they would destroy the world. But if the world is not completely destroyed, then ice would destroy this completely. Now, here in this line, but if it had to perish twice, there is contradiction in the line. Contradiction in the sense the poet thinks that once it is not destroyed completely, once it does not end completely, then second time it would be destroyed or ended by the ice. Right? So here is contradiction, whereas what ends once is ending. Right? Okay. It would be destroyed by ice. How it would be destroyed by ice? It means it would be destroyed by hatred and insensitivity of humans. How is this insensitivity of humans? Man is killing another man today. The man is not hesitant to kill another man. So this is the destruction that is happening. And why it happens, why one man kills another man? It is because he has hatred for others. So this hatred makes him insensitive or indifferent. These lines suggest that the poet has experienced hatred or envy also. Poet is disclosed that he has experienced hatred or envy meaning jealousy. Yes, we do have hatred. There are so many things around us which we do not like. We are definitely jealous. We are all humans. So the poet is being honest to his readers. Poet is very honest that way. In the beginning also he admits that he has the experience of keeping desires, possessing desires. Now here also he reveals this very fact that he does have hatred or envy sometimes. Hatred is taken to be an ice cold emotion. It is called a cold feeling. Don't we say that you need somebody's help, one is not paying attention or one is not ready to help you. You say, oh, don't talk to him. He is very cold. meaning he does not have emotions, he does not have the feelings, he is not being sympathetic, right? His experience of keeping hatred has taught him how disastrous it can be. He had that hatred. Now, hatred gives birth to more the hatred children. Hatred gives birth to an animal instinct in man. Hatred gives birth to a killing instinct in man. Hatred kills the feeling of love and affection in humans. When that feeling of love and affection is away in a human, it is understood that the man is insensitive. When a man is selfish and thinks only about himself, he does not care about others. That's how he becomes different, indifferent. When he has hatred, he becomes selfish. When he is selfish, he only thinks about himself. He does not think about others. Hatred kills humanity, love, affection in man. What has happened during pandemic? You all have seen. You all have seen what has happened. That is the sign of hatred. That is the sign of greed. If warmth of emotions is lost, everything is lost. And this leads to disasters and destructions. So the poet is trying to convey to the readers that what is needed for humans to survive. And if you want this world to survive, what is needed? We need to have the emotions of love and affection. We need to have humanity. If these values are lost, then everything is lost. There would be disaster, there would be destruction, and destruction only. In the last line, the poet has emphasized on the fact that passions or emotions in the form of desires, hatred, and greed in human nature are enough to cause destruction in the world or an apocalypse. Apocalypse, as I told to you, according to Bible, it means the end of the world. So when the poet emphasizes on the fact that these very emotions, desires, hatred, greed, insensitivity, they would cause destruction, then in a way, the poet is trying to convey that the man should instill the spirit of love and have the feeling of cooperation. And we all have to live together. Then only we can save the world. Right? These were two stanzas. Now here is the theme of the poem. Just try to understand. The major theme of this poem is the human passion, that desire and hatred are like fire and ice. Fire symbolizes desire and ice stands for hatred. The poet is familiar with both and knows that both are strong in the world. They both are very strong to destroy the world, that is the human race. The poem revolves around the human emotions. In this poem, the poet wants the humans to have self-restraint. Self-restraint meaning he wants the humans to have self-control. Self-control meaning to have control on his emotions. According to the scientists, the earth would be burnt because the sun exploded. If the earth would manage to escape this calamity, the opposite would happen. The scientists would give the scientific reasons, right? But the poet says it's not only that scientific reasons are there for the destruction of the earth. Of course, the man is responsible. Robert Frost uses a sarcastic tone to warn us about the danger that we have to face if we do not keep our desires and negative emotions in control. Time and again, The poet has tried to convey that we have to control our negative feelings, negative emotions. Humans have raided this planet in an attempt to satisfy their desires. Humans have raided this planet Earth. How humans have raided? Humans have started dominating on the earth. Human beings think that they are the owners of this earth. When humans think, they are wrong. They think they are the owners of the earth, so whatever the way they want to use it, they can. Whatever the way they want to fulfill their desires by cutting trees, polluting the air, water, and land, they can do it. But no, humans are wrong. They are not the owners of the earth. They are the part of this earth. Students, earth is not the part of us. We are the part of this earth. We have to share this earth with many other living beings on the earth. There exists life on the earth, and we have to share it with everyone. Now, who are these other living beings? The other living beings are animals, plants, yes, plants too, birds, the water bodies, all these things. So we are the part of earth. Earth is not the part of us. We do this without consideration what effect it will have on nature. We have overconsumed the natural resources. We have destroyed our water bodies. We have cut down the mountains. We have cleared the forests. And today we make a hue and cry that we are short of water. So many animals have lost their habitat because we have cleared the forests. And today we people make a hue and cry. Today we mourn. Today we are regretting that CO2 has accumulated in the atmosphere. We are responsible. What have we done? We had been satisfying our greed only, being insensitive to the other things which are found in nature. Humans know things and gain power. If they become so insensitive, then they would end up fighting with each other. This has been evident in the wars that have been fought throughout human history. In history, so many wars have happened, and today also so many wars are happening. What for? That is greed for the power. And if the humans are busy, if they keep themselves busy in fighting these wars, then how can we hope for the survival of the world? We should strive to keep, we should strive to keep human values alive. So, what is important? To keep the human values alive. Which human values? Love, cooperation, affection, being sensitive to others, being helpful to others. We should keep our desires and hatred in check. We have to control our desires. We have to minimize our desires. We have to control our hatred. Why can't we promote likeness for others? Desires can be controlled by being satisfied and happy with what one has. The poet has given the ways how we can control it. We can control our desires if we are satisfied with what we have. If we try to contain what we have, if we try to conserve what we have, it will definitely multiply. Love for all living beings and nature can be an antidote for hatred. How can we control hatred? With love and warmth for our fellow human beings, for beautiful flora and fauna, for nature. Definitely we would be able to survive. This is the theme of the poem. This was the purpose of the poet. So just as in all his poems, the poet has one philosophy to impart. Here in this poem also, he has shared this philosophy that the world is a beautiful place. It can be saved with love, affection, and by controlling our emotions and desires, and with cooperation. That's all in the poem. But now we have to analyze the poetic devices that have been used in the poem. If you just look into the book, you might be having the book with you, and you will see these lines. Here you will find alliteration. Alliteration, though you have already done before, yet I will repeat for you. Alliteration is the repetition of same consonant sound. Some say world will, some say the two words, the first letter SS is not a vowel, it is a consonant. And both of these have the same sound, sir, some say. So this is alliteration. World will, W of word, W of will, they have the same sound, world will, right? Then favor, fire. F, the same letter is there, the same sound of fur. Just as in Hindi, you say Hindi में आप fur कहते हैं ना, favor, fire. It's the same sound. So the words which have two or more words with the same consonant sound, that is called alliteration. The second one is anaphora. Now you must be thinking, what is anaphora? Anaphora is the repetition of a word or an expression in the beginning of two or more lines. Just as, for example, you see these two lines, some say the word will, and then the very next line, some say in eyes. Some say the word will end in fire, some say in eyes. Now, some say is the phrase which has been repeated in the very next line also. So this is anaphora. The third one is enjambment. Enjambment is the sentence is continued without any pause, beyond the end of a line, without any punctuation marks. If you just notice in your book, you will find some say the word will end in fire, some say in eyes, some say the word will end in fire, there is no comma, no full stop, and then it is continued in the next line, right, where there is comma. So here in these two lines is enjambment. Then the next is imagery. Imagery is that touches our five senses. When we read something, its picture flashes in our mind. That is called imagery. The poet uses it to make the readers understand those very things in his mind. Some say the world will end in fire. When you read this, you visualize the world in the grip of fire. Metaphor. Metaphor, I told you earlier also, in very simple words, it is an indirect comparison. How is this an indirect comparison? Indirect comparison in the sense that like or as are not used to make comparisons. This is comparison between two things, two different things or ideas, right? Now fire and ice are metaphor here. The rhyming scheme, if you just notice, you will find that the rhyming scheme is A, B, A, B, C, B, C, B. You read in the book, you will find that where the words, the last words are rhyming. And the last is symbolism. It is symbolic image to express ideas. Fire and ice, both are symbolic, right? Fire symbolizes desire and ice symbolizes hatred, right? Yes. Do you have any queries? Any doubt anywhere? If you have any doubt anywhere, you can ask me. All right. So that's the end of the poem. We conclude it here. Goodbye and thank you.